All right, welcome back to the Labrador Energy Podcast. We are back once more with, this time around with Sandy Jones. Welcome,
Hello.
Sandy Jones.
Hey.
You a listener of the podcast?
I've listened to a couple episodes, yeah.
Very good, very good.
I'm not like an avid listener, though.
I think no one is. Am I right, guys?
Maybe after today.
Maybe after today. I mean, not even I listen to all the episodes, but I'm part of all of them, so I know what happens. But basically we're just trying to, the whole kind of format of the podcast is to figure out what makes you tick, what makes you go out of the ordinary, to make you kind of search for things that otherwise, would not search for.
Okay.
Find your Labrador energy.
Okay, yeah.
So why don't you do a quick introduction on yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, you know me, like for anyone who doesn't, I'm Sandy Jones. I'm a freelancer, I'm a comedian, a whole bunch of stuff, and I live here in Berlin. I'm part of the comedy scene here, that's how we met.
What do you freelance as?
So mostly it's voice acting, script writing, spokesperson work.
Mm-hmm. So you work with your mouth?
Yes, I'm good with my mouth.
You're a mouth worker.
I'm good at oral,
Very good.
It's
very good.
Skill, definitely.
Okay.
And it started just mainly voice acting, and then it kind of grew some legs, and I'm doing a lot more filming now.
How does one get to the voice acting business?
It's just funny, I have this conversation a lot with the comedians, and very often people are like, oh my God, like how did you get in? Did you do a course? Did you, what qualifications do you have? Or something? And the secret is you just start and you pretend that you're the professional. You have like a slightly better than average quality, and you work really cheap, and then you just get the ball rolling.
Okay.
And then within a year or two, no one knows the difference between you and someone who did all the course and all that kind of stuff.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it.
But how do you get the first jobs?
I registered myself on a bunch of freelance platforms. I created a kind of like best practice script as my profile.
Okay.
So kind of like using things that I'd learned in the workforce of how to get people's attention, get clicks and so on, and then just enough to get a few leads, and then.
Why voice acting? Did you study voice acting? Did you?
Yeah, no. So it's a funny one. I started with. We'll go right back. I was just doing like normal agency, startup type work, social marketing, that kind of thing. And I came to Berlin to see a friend, and we pitched a business idea to his startup. So that's how I kind of like started coming in the kind of back and forth to Berlin situation. And one of the things that we had to do for this thing was an idea of how to help this startup get more influencers on their business. That was their whole model.
Yeah.
So I created this way of making a personalized video intro from the people to the very specific person that they're trying to get.
Okay.
But we just needed in the moment. We were like, we need to like make this video like really quick. Let's just do it. So I was like, I'll do it. So he'd already been doing like video and voice projects and stuff. So he mic'd me up, set it all up, set up everything really nicely. Go. And then I just kind of did the videos and stuff. Eventually I won the project, I got the job. Long story short, it kind of went a different way. But what I identified there was like, I'm quite good at this. I'm quite comfortable with the voice thing, being on camera, kind of like learning the script, getting under the under the skin of it. So I was like, why don't I just do that? And go on Upwork, there's 10,000 voice actors. Some of them have earned millions, some of them are earning zero. There's Fiverr, there's people per hour, there's all these different platforms. I was like, wow, this world is crazy. I'm in.
The world of voice acting, very interesting.
Indeed.
Earlier on this podcast, like 40 episodes ago, I had another voice actor, a professional German voice actor, who does the dubbing for some of the Disney series.
So that guy is a millionaire, probably.
Girl. Not really.
Oh, no?
No. But like, it's like, because she was explaining to me like the inwards and the inner workings of the German voice acting business, and it's very clicky, very small, very clicky. You have to. It's kind of like a mentorship type stuff.
I see.
So then she emailed like this guy, and it was like, you're my favorite voice actor kind of stuff. You should check it out.
Yeah,
but I'll send you the link afterwards.
Yeah, please.
But it's a different world. Like this is like television voice acting, and you're doing like more. Would you say commercial voice acting?
Yeah, commercial, like explainer videos. When you go on a website, there's always a video that's like, here's how it works in 3 easy steps.
The turtle book for the Galapagos.
Something like that. And just like there's so much of that out there. These like kind of like videos and audiobooks and podcasts and stuff. People just need voices, and they don't want to go through those kind of traditional methods of like find an agency. They just want to spend $50 and they want this done by tomorrow.
And just for the people at home, you're British, yes?
Yeah, it's a bit complicated, but yeah, British Bolivian,
British Bolivian Mauritian.
Yeah.
From Mauritius?
Mauritius.
Who's
yeah.
Mauritian?
My grandmother was born and raised there.
Oh, interesting. And then your dad's from Bolivia or mom?
My mum's Bolivian. My dad's British, but so he's the son of the Mauritian grandmother.
Gotcha.
So he's British Mauritian, and my mum's Bolivian.
And did you grow up in the UK?
Predominantly from like the age of about 10 onwards. I was in
Before
the UK.
that, Bolivia?
Moved around a lot. I lived in Indonesia, lived in Texas in the States, a couple of random places. My dad was an engineer, so
Gotcha.
I moved around a lot.
Gotcha. Like a real engineer or like a software engineer?
Like a real one, like a proper real one. you like a...
The comedians looking down on the software engineers. Get a real job, guys.
He was on the rigs, he was getting his hands dirty, turning knobs and turning screws, and then eventually he went into the office world.
Interesting.
But in that world, when you get a job, they usually give your family the full package.
I'm familiar with one of my friends is a telecoms engineer, and they sent them like everywhere, like at Tokyo, like Africa. You know, that's a city, that's a continent. Like
everywhere.
Everywhere. But interesting. So then you settled in the UK. Where in the UK?
Aberdeen in Scotland.
Nice.
Then I kind of like finished school there, and then I stayed in Scotland for uni. I went to Glasgow.
Right. Okay.
Another like 5 years there. And
what did you study?
I actually studied politics. That's what I ended up with.
Bit of an oratory subject. Yes?
Yeah, sure. I went in to do business. I went in to do business because I was like, I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm sure a lot of people who do business, they're like business, yeah.
People are doing business.
And then by the time I get there, I was like, wow, I've got to do these other two things, economics and politics, and I ended up enjoying politics more than the other two. Purely from the kind of philosophical, political theory, that kind of thing.
Right.
I never wanted to be a politician.
Right.
It's not in my plans.
How big of a part of your identity is the Bolivian?
I'd say quite big, because it's your home, right? Your household. Like the language that I spoke with my mum was always Spanish.
Oh, really?
The food was like always like delicious Bolivian.
Is she like from? Is it La Paz? The capital?
Yeah, La Paz. She's from a few different cities. Right. Like we've got family spread out. La Paz, Santa Cruz, and Sucre.
Have you visited Bolivia?
Yeah. So I used to go like almost every year until I was about, I think like 21 or something, when it became like more expensive.
Right.
I don't go as often as I'd like to. Obviously now it's not really possible.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I'd say like it's been five years or something.
So you speak fluent Spanish?
Fluent Spanish, yeah.
Speak English, obviously?
Yeah.
Do you speak German?
Yeah, it's
fluent
like
German?
Conversational. It's you know.
Anything else in there? Thrown in there?
French school level, and it annoys me how bad it's become. So I've got back on the Duolingo trying to
get your French up to speed.
Get the French up to speed. I think the German that I've learned has completely replaced the French words. Sometimes. I
remember you saying your girlfriend's French, right?
No, she's German. She's actually from Berlin. She's the unicorn. There are Berliners that live here still.
Very interesting. Okay, so she speak German with her? Not really.
And she didn't speak that good English when we met, and I didn't speak that good German, so it's kind of like.
So how did you guys end up meeting? What was the spark?
Tinder. Of course. How else do people meet? Is there another way?
Interesting. I mean, it's a Bumble also. Also, there's Hinge at the moment. I've heard a lot of stuff about that. Very interesting. So how long have you been in Berlin now?
It's been like 3 years now, and I was coming back and forth a little bit before that as well.
How old are you?
I'm just turned 31. I had to think about that.
Very good. 31 as well. I turned 31 in November.
There you go.
Fuck, 31. Okay, very good.
You just turned 31 in November?
Yeah.
I turned 31 in January.
Oh, very interesting. So very close. So you're 90 and I'm 89.
Just missed 89 by like a few days.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it was rough in the 80s.
Yeah. Although no 80s people will give me that. They're all like, no, 90s baby. Even though it's like a few days. It's
a few days. Wait, January or January? What, like 7?
10.
Okay, a couple of days. A couple more than those.
Yeah,
we can have
less than a fortnight.
Okay, very nice. And then so you've moved here. You're working for this stuff, and you're doing like the voice acting, the voice actor career for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Indeed, yeah. But it's been like probably three years, pretty much since the time I moved here. Was that when that really started?
So you have to do your own taxes. You have to do everything. Yes.
Yeah, I got that all. That was quite a painful, long process, and I eventually just ended up paying over odds for someone who spoke fluent English and was able to set it all up.
Okay, very good.
Rather than have the heartache of going back and forth and trying to do this 50-page form on my own.
Nice, yeah. I might ask you for some reference for that.
Yeah,
I'm currently
definitely.
in the process. I've been registered in Germany for 1 year now. It's tax time.
Hey, there we go.
Very good. Yeah, and then how did you stumble upon comedy?
So I've always been obsessed with comedy.
Obsessed. Strong word.
Love comedy, love stand-up, and also...
Like British comedy or like what exactly?
Just a mix. I love British comedy, love like the classic, like, you know, British style joke writing, dry, witted humor, in stand-up and also in TV, you know, like Monty Python, that kind of thing. Right. But I also love like traditional like American stand-up. I'm just kind of like, I've always been a stand-up like geek. I'm super into it.
Do you remember like how you got into it? Like was it just TV or?
I think it was a mix of, so like we had VHS tapes, VCR tapes of like Billy Connolly and some like classic kind of British and George Carlin. We had a lot of like
at the house.
At the house, yeah. My dad was always into it. My mum was as well, but he was like super into it. Right. And we would watch like George Carlin and stuff when I was probably a little bit actually too young to maybe be watching it, but it was enough that you know it's such a art piece. Like a George Carlin thing is just basically a 1 hour monologue.
So what city was this happening in?
I would say like I got kind of like aware of comedy and what comedy was when I was like maybe 11 or 12. So I was actually living in the States at that time.
Oh, I was
living in Houston, in Texas.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then I remember like Comedy Central had Comedy Central Presents, these like half an hour shorts, and you get like 4 or 5 minute sets from people. Right. And on that I remember seeing like Stephen Lynch, this funny guy with a guitar, Dane Cook. Right. It was kind of like the late 90s, early 2000s, even Joe Rogan and a few Bill Burr, like young days. Right. And I was just like, that's a job? Like wow.
It's crazy, right? Like
it's something that I just planted the seed in my head.
It's very interesting because like for me it was like around like when I was 2008 actually. Okay. When I moved to the UK and I saw like Russell Peters stuff online. And I was
so you lived in the UK as well, right?
Yeah, I lived in the UK for like 4 years, Manchester.
Manchester.
I did uni there.
Good comedy town as well.
Yeah, and I wasn't in the comedy at the time, so I never went to any of the clubs there.
Oh right.
Like I only got the this is the funny thing because like the funny thing. I only got the comedy like when I was around like 26, 27. Okay. Like I stumbled upon it. So then again it's like that discrepancy of like okay now it's here, and so that's why like when I kind of decided to kind of focus on it full time, I was like, clock is a ticking.
Now's the time.
Yeah, now's the time.
What was the thing? Because you started obviously about the same time as me actually as well, like late 20s. What was the thing that stopped? So did you have any time before you started doing it that you wanted to do it and you delayed it, or did you just say one day that's the day and then the first day you decided?
No, it was kind of like basically I went away from it for a while, for a couple of months, and I was like, oh, this is my life feels rather empty now, because I was doing it in Singapore for a while, and then basically I had the job opportunity to go work in Estonia, and I moved over to Estonia, and in Estonia was very dry in terms of comedy, so I hadn't done it for like 2-3 months, and I was just doing work, and I was like, what's the point of doing this work? I was like working for like a fintech at the time. We were setting up some like payment providers, and we were working with like accepting cryptocurrencies and that kind of stuff, which we'll probably get later on.
Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah.
So then basically I was doing all this, and I was like, what the fuck? What's the point? We're making good money, but there was nothing to do, and there was like no joy in life. So I was like, the question at the time was like, if I did not have to worry about money, what would I be doing? So then, because I had no needs to spend money on anything, and I was like, well, I'm doing comedy. So I was like, but then why not just go for it? So then I planned it out like, the big kind of like, I did set up like a deadline. I was like, I will go to the Edinburgh Fringe, I'll check that out, see how I feel about it when I go there, and then I'll make a decision. So then I went to the Fringe, and I was like, because I think the reason why I went to the Fringe was to kind of get a point of reference of like, where am I, in terms of talent-wise, or like, experience in this whole ecosystem, So have you been to the Fringe?
Actually, luckily, because I was a bit of like a drama kid at school, so I had some performance background from like school days and a bit in the uni, and we would do like a yearly trip to watch the Fringe. So I saw a lot of like cool improv theatre and a little bit of stand-up and stuff, and just the buzz of the city is awesome. In that time, especially I remember thinking that like, wow, this is awesome. I think probably at that time I was thinking more maybe like comedy sketches or something like that, like this Reduced Shakespeare Company. I don't know if you heard of them. These 3 guys, they just do Shakespeare, full Shakespeare sonnets in like 2 minutes, and like just stuff like that. I was kind of like, this is awesome. So kind of similar. Interesting that you said the Fringe. It kind of also was a seed.
I mean, it was a different level of like, you know, like I think the Fringe is basically the most, and it's the only Fringe I've been, so I can't maybe, it's the best Fringe.
It's the best one I've been to.
Yeah, but it was basically like it gave me an idea, because the way that it works if you have it the Fringe is like anybody can set up a show. Anybody, like it doesn't matter who you are, as long as you can find a venue and you can advertise the show and you sign up for the pamphlet brochure, you can go to it. So it's like there's no level, there's no barrier of entry, right? Any type of show. Like even like I don't know, like Ori when he went last year, he just had a whole improv hour. He was just doing like a whole hour of like just talking to the audience, and people would come and see it. So anyway, so I went there and I was like, okay, people are, I can do, like for example, I was like, okay, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not the bottom. I went to a couple of shows and I'm like, these people are terrible.
Right.
Yet they have, I wouldn't say the audacity. They have the confidence to, you know, put on a show here. And but most of the shows are donations, so there's not like they're, you know, asking for money, right? It's just donations,
Yeah.
so it's all right. I was like, well, if these people, you know, they're staying paying up and doing this, then why can I not, you know, do the same thing, you know?
Right. Sure.
So at that point, I was like, you know, I have an idea what I want to do, what I want to talk about, and if I put in more time, in my mind, I was like, I can easily raise to like the top 5% of what's happening here.
Right.
And
so you've always had this kind of like analytical view of it, like stats based, almost like I can corner this part of the market. And
yeah, because I worked in sales for like for example, when I was doing recruitment like for years, that's kind of sales, right? So it's basically like, you know, you set a number and you work towards that. And if you basically get to that number, you will most likely be successful, right? So that's how they would like break down our performances in the sales. They'll be like, okay, you need to make this, like, they'll be like, based on our data, if you do 40 calls a day, you have to be really, really bad not to make a sale. You know, like you will just, even if you fail constantly, just do these numbers, you will get there because you'll just learn by doing, right? So I've kind of like taken up that philosophy in whatever I do, right? Like even with the TikToks and like the stage time or whatever. So I was like, you know, if I put in the time, I can easily outwork most of these people, you know? So then that was kind of the idea.
Yeah, man.
So then I was like, okay, let's just, how would I do that? And then basically, you know, I ended up doing like the spreadsheet about stage. I figured like, you know, the number one thing you need to get to be better is stage time.
Right.
So I was like, that's what I need to optimize first. How to get more stage time. Then I was thinking I have to move out of Estonia was the first kind of thing. And then I was like, okay, where can I move? So then I made a little spreadsheet of like all the open mics in Europe. So then I found out obviously UK had a mass amount of them, but then I felt like, you know, because I figured like I'd probably not be making any money the first year. UK is probably not the best place because it'd be too much expense, right? And then I came across Berlin when I was searching, and there were like 20 mics at that time. There were like 20 mics a week. I was like, 20 mics a week? Yeah, let me go check it out. I came and checked it out, and I was like, okay, definitely this is it. Yeah. Especially because the rent was so cheap here.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much it. Yeah, and then basically, you know, just repeat the reps, right? Go to shows, goes to shows, and then afterwards kind of like evolved. And like the question was, how do I get even more stage time? So that the question
start running shows.
I need to run shows, and then I need to have 1 hour. If I want to get to like the Louis C.K. level, I need to do what Louis C.K. does, and he performs 1 hour every day. You know, so I was like, how am I going to perform 1 hour every day? I have to do 1 hour shows. So I was like, how do I? So then kind of was the next step was, how do I do 1 hour shows? And then, you know, I tried reaching out to different venues, different places around Europe, and they're like, you don't do 1 hour at our club? How about no? I'll give you 7 minutes. How about that? I was like, I'm not going to travel to fucking Rotterdam to do 7 minutes for no money, you know? So then I was like, I knew some guys were doing shows like this in Asia where they were just like booking a venue. So I was like, oh, I'll just do it myself here.
So just rent it out basically as a...
Well, it was not really rented out. It was basically like, the whole plan was I will do a show in this venue on a day when there is nobody in there. Or, because the value proposition for the venue owner was like, I will spend money on ads to bring people to buy your beer as long as you can let me have the venue for free and keep the ticket sales. And I was like, yeah, we have no one here. It was like 20, 30 people kind of venue. We have no one here on a Tuesday. If you can, you know, get people in here, I make money, you make money, everybody wins, right? So that's kind of the plan. And I did that and that worked out. So now basically, you know, since the pandemic, we're here where we are now, right? Figuring out how to do more stuff online. Yeah. So that was kind of the idea.
Yeah, it's kind of similar, man. Like I had my first show kind of confirmed hosting, and the whole thing got derailed because of this thing. So
was it this at Maz or?
At Maz, yeah.
What show were you doing?
I was going to do Word Players.
Word Players.
Check it out.
Word Players.
When we come back from
Sandy Jones Comedy on Instagram.
Thanks very much.
What was the format?
So I just kind of wanted to have some kind of it's a nod to like the traditional stand-up, you know, wordplay, sarcasm, that kind of thing. I feel like that gets a bad rep, but I don't quite understand why, because I think it's really hard to write a good wordplay joke that will nail the crowd every single time, most times, and like that's why I do so much of it, because like you, I'm in my early stages. I'm in the grafting. We need to just get the miles down, and I want to have a repertoire of material sitting there for all these different things, and what better way to get that than just by constantly trying it, and why not have a show where part of the show is comedians doing their normal 4 or 5 minutes or something, and then also kind of like putting them in a place where they have to use that kind of format.
Exactly, you have to be forced in a particular format, right?
Exactly.
And then the idea is like the luxury of Berlin is like you can do that because you can find a bar and you can find people and there's demand. Whereas like, you know, even I was talking to, even Tyrone, if you talk to him, he used to be at the Comedy Store. But then basically, I think he was saying that just getting on stage is so difficult, because even if you're there, you get bumped to like 2 a.m. at night, and then that destroys your schedule for the week, right?
I've heard the stories.
So getting actual stage time is a luxury. That was kind of the thing. And I came here, you know, basically, and I had some savings, which I had put in different kind of stocks, which we'll talk about that. Because I figured like if I'm gonna have the savings, I should make it. You know, I was reading some books about investing, so I put that in a couple of things. I was like, okay, this is there, and I'll just keep that money aside as a backup plan, and then the goal is to make money out of this eventually, right? Yeah. So then making money out of comedy is not really straightforward, especially in Berlin, right? Because you have to invest to set up the shows, especially when you have to put money up front to do like Facebook ads. Right, which costs a lot. Like, exactly. I mean, it's cheaper outside of Berlin, which is why it's interesting, because you can get more for your buck in like a place like Copenhagen than in Berlin, because there's less supply of like comedy. Right. I guess more people are bidding for the ad space here in Berlin. Yeah, exactly. And then it's not just, I think the difficult thing when it comes to like running your own shows is you also have to realize what the time frame for running the ads are, because you're not only competing against other comedy shows, you're competing against Nike. Right. Because Nike also wants to show ads on Facebook at 8 p.m. in the evening, in like Kreuzberg. To like 25 to 45 year olds to buy, whatever they want. So you can really get fucked if you mismanage it. And then basically, let's say a big company is running a very aggressive ad campaign the same week as your show, can be really problematic. So then you have to kind of figure out. This is the thing about comedy, and like I think you as a freelancer can relate to this. It's not just you're not doing comedy. You're running like a whole business, right? Sure. Yeah, it's people say like, how did you start? They often get asked that question about the voice acting, and the answer is just get yourself a duvet, use your iPhone as the first starting point. Create some kind of a recording environment and just record, read your favorite book and make an audiobook, and then put it on a website, start marketing it. There is no, you have to do the graft, all of it. And people think that they can go to a course where they can, it just doesn't work like that. The thing just need to get out there. You can't get around the work, right? No. You said, you can outsource it, you can find someone to do it, but it still needs to be done. Yeah, but even like you say, like putting a duvet on your head to record your voice, like how do I get, that blocks the extra sound, there's no echo, and you're recording the voice acting, right? Very simple. So the same with this, when that happens, like for example, when you're running ads and your ad campaign gets fucked because of Nike's running at the same time, what do? You have to go to Facebook groups, you post in Facebook groups, you have to get banned from Facebook groups. Exactly, I get banned to like over 400 Facebook groups. How many are you banned from? So many. So I've received so many bans on every platform possible. So then what do you do once you get banned on Facebook groups? Then you start emailing universities at their Erasmus department, which I do as well. So like this was the difficult part about these shows, and I think maybe I'll do a podcast to kind of really go into it. It's like I would do a show in the evening from like 8 to 10, and then I would go to the hotel or hostel most of the times because it was cheaper, sit in the common area and basically until 1 o'clock email, set up the other shows, right? And email like Erasmus department in let's say in like Munich. I know there's not a lot of English company events. I'm doing this event. It's cultural comedy. Maybe some of your Erasmus students might be interested. I have a student discount, and then emailing the university Erasmus department requires you to figure out what universities are in the area and then figure out what are the emails. So that particular action one at a time is like maybe like 20 minutes to figure out what the email is and who.
List building as well. It's like a huge,
It's massive. Yeah. So basically, this is the thing. It's like it's difficult to convey just the sheer volume of work that is going behind it, right?
Big time.
Yeah, and then now basically, for example, like at the moment we're talking about like with TikTok stuff, right? It's watching the videos first it's filming the videos, having like I remember from the first pandemic I was like, fuck, I have not enough film stuff for not good quality. So I was like, this is never gonna happen again. So then I filmed everything during the summer again, and that's like gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes. You have to get a hard drive, external hard drive, stock everything, and then once the pandemic came around, it's like rewatching all the content.
Yeah. And
then while you're doing all this full time, it's like, how do you sustain yourself? How do you pay the bills? Travis, how do you pay the bills?
Completely, and I'm going through this process as well.
Yeah.
I've filmed every single set I've done, and I'm going through them and trying to find the gems, trying to find the horrible stuff, like just the learning stuff. Like that in itself is a hugely lengthy process.
Just watching yourself,
and it's painful for a start. The self-hate and the words and the voices, like trying to quell all that, and just to think like, what would I think if this was just the guy who walked on stage and it was not me? Yeah. It's really quite hard to do that. Easier to do that with your voice, especially when it's this is interesting. So I find it very different. Like I'm already completely out there in the internet now because of the voice acting and spokesperson stuff. But it's been a slightly different adjustment with the comedy side. I don't know if you maybe like see the parallel there, but it's one thing to have your voice there and like be editing your voice and stuff, especially even if it's a script you wrote or whatever, you're kind of just like whatever. It's another thing to be reviewing something that you've done on stage in front of a live audience with all of those variables and maybe a heckler, or you tripped on the way up to the stage, or all of those things, and then watching that and going through the kind of like the cringe and all that stuff. It's a different level. So. And we're back.
So I think it's just so much. It's just time spent, and time spent looking at your mistakes. I mean, it's kind of maybe that's what helps, because it helps you reflect on your continuous failure.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's just continuous failing in public, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, was I? Like, why do I keep going back?
Completely. And I don't know if do you do any martial arts?
No martial arts.
Okay, but you did some kind of sport, right? Or
no sports? No. I mean, the only thing I did was basically.
When you had some material on that, but maybe.
No, I don't have any. I'm like the most unathletic person. But what I do is basically, because I'm, I like read books. And I'm like, you should exercise if you want to stay in good mental health. So I just do like push-ups and sit-ups every morning.
I mean, that's you're above the bottom level.
So
need to be.
I do like 40 push-ups in the morning and then 40 sit-ups and then 40 abs in the evening when I go to bed. So it's like
even just that. So I was again pre-pandemic. We've got to kind of put a caveat there, but I'm really into jiu-jitsu that I've been doing for like 5-6 years,
which is quite common amongst comedians in the US, I guess.
Yeah, and I think even in like I think there's a few people in our scene who do it as well. Right. I think it's kind of it's a weird one because it is an artistic expression, and you're also it's a very physically taxing one, and it's full of failure, and you look so stupid for the first couple of years, and people are just kind of ragdolling you and toying with you because the level is just so different. It's like a chess master going against someone who's just got his first board. Right. You thought about doing like a voice acting YouTube of sorts? So I have my own channel where I just push the videos that I make, but I have thought about like maybe doing here's how you just get the ball rolling kind of thing. Yeah, I've thought about that, but not progressed it.
Because like for example, like the goal going forward for me is to make money and then obviously do something with that money. But the idea is like reinvest it in myself. The best asset you can invest in is myself. And like for example, the one thing that I do in terms of investing in myself, I have like an Audible subscription, and then basically I read 2 books a month. Okay. I'll listen to them, right? And whether it's finance or whatever, it's always keep the ball rolling on the learning. But the point is I want to make money with comedy, and then the question is how do you do that? Well, now it's YouTube, there's like TikTok. I was playing around with the idea of maybe writing a book based on like how I did the show, just explaining the shows around Europe. I'm just kind of playing around with all these kind of different avenues. But then that's the question is focus has to be key, right? Because like if you're spending say 6 months writing a book about comedy and you're not doing comedy, then you're losing out 6 months that potentially could compound.
That's true. And yeah, it takes a lot of time to map it all out and get it done and so on. But I think if you can justify it to yourself that the time you're investing has this kind of like long term. If you create a book or a course or something, it just sits there. It's just fishing.
Yeah, it's passive income,
which is great. Like you're right. I need to do more of that.
So potentially, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe doing something like that. But I think for now, I guess the goal that I have is first is reach 10,000 subscribers on YouTube.
You've reached it?
I've not.
Oh, okay.
It's the goal. I'm at 8,000 at the moment. So guys, if you have not subscribed yet, and then basically get to 200,000 on like TikTok, which again 200,000 is a crazy number.
That's wild how many people follow you on TikTok, man.
It's and then basically
how does that feel?
I don't know yet.
You know what I mean? 2 Wembley stadiums.
But is that how big it is?
Yeah, 90,000 people can fit in Wembley, and you've got more than double that.
Yeah. So the question is, I don't know how that feels yet, because I have not had the chance to see the effects of this at any shows. You know what I mean?
But I've even been at shows where someone's been like, I met you on TikTok.
Yeah, it's like 1, 2, like this was like when the growth was like 30,000, like before, because most of the growth has happened in the pandemic, right? In the TikTok. So everything's kind of been locked down, and we weren't allowed to do these big shows. So I don't know exactly how that feels. Like it's I've had a couple of guys recognize me while I was eating a kebab in Neukölln.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Who's that guy from TikTok? Good stuff, man. You're staying on brand. Talking about TikToks and eating. You're talking about kebabs and eating kebabs. On brand. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know exactly how that is, but the goal is basically, again, it's like because at the moment it's kind of feels like numbers until you realize like how big it is. But for now, it's just to keep growing that, because the only thing you can do at the moment, right? Like, for example, I think this particular period of time is like very difficult for artists such as us. Because what do you do when you can't, do the art outside? So you have to figure out how can you, turn it to your advantage.
And you're doing like a couple of online shows. I haven't done an online set yet.
Yeah, we'll have you on the next one. I mean, those have been interesting as well, but the people have been paying for them. But we're doing them as charity shows to help the bars.
To support the bar, yeah.
Because again, if these bars go down, it really hurts the comedy. Because the stage time, we can't have stage time without stage.
Right.
And if the stage goes out of business.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem to me like the path to getting people back on stage is it's muddy. It's not clear. There's no date and stuff.
It's not clear at all. I mean, and this is the thing. Like this second lockdown has been much longer than the first one, right? Because the first one was 3 months.
Was it even 3 months?
It's less than 3 months, like 2 months and a half. 2 months and a half, yeah. And now basically we're November, December, January, and halfway through February, right?
Yeah.
By the way, halfway through February, fuck.
Yeah, crazy already.
Yeah. It is interesting to see what will happen. So now basically I'm just kind of like exploring more stuff on TikTok, more stuff on YouTube. We'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, and definitely.
We'll see what happens once everything pops back to normal. Hopefully we'll be able to do bigger venues. Somebody be my agent.
So we're going to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Because that's the plan. As soon as they open up the doors, just come out like a...
Yeah, that's exactly. We'll see, do all the shows everywhere we can. But I don't know, for yourself as was there ever an option for you to do comedy in the UK as a British citizen, and do you consider the UK to be your people?
Yeah, so I definitely consider that to be home, and I would say like London more than Scotland, especially with my family's there and all that kind of stuff. So I can see a path of going back to the UK, but I know that there's nowhere better for me to be here again once everything is open than here for stage time and for being able to run a show and get into the whole groove of it. Then maybe go there with some years experience under my belt.
Have you done any shows in the UK so far?
None, not yet. Okay. So I started it here, and I've only been back a couple of times, like since I've moved here.
Right.
So.
It's quite impressive, because basically I think most of my stand-up comedy career has been in non-traditional stand-up comedy places like Singapore. The audience is not that big. In Berlin, the audience is not. We see all these videos where you see like the audience is like 20-30 people. It sounds people are laughing ha ha ha, but it's like 20-30 people. It's like a small room, right?
Right.
But I've been to the UK a couple of times. And I've done a couple of shows there. Not my own show.
Whereabouts?
I've done some shows at the Angel Comedy Club.
In Angel?
Yeah.
In London?
You know Angel?
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like, it's not a massive room, it's like 60 people. But it's very interesting to see. And all the stuff that I've done around Europe, most of them have been under 100. Like even my own shows, right? But it's interesting to see, because the scope of the industry goes up like 2-3 times the size of rooms we were used to, right?
Right.
So it's
in the UK compared to here. Yeah.
Like for example, if you go to like Top Secret or some of the other ones, like the established clubs, is like even in Romania, I was quite surprised to see like they have a club in Romania and it's for Romanian comics, right? Mm-hmm. And you're walking in front of like 300 people in the venue.
Okay.
I was like, whoa, this is different.
And that's new, or is it like?
It's been just for the past 2 years. They just opened it like the year before the pandemic.
Is stand-up comedy a thing in Romania?
It's really big, yeah. But in Romanian, because they have they're all Romanian.
No English scene.
No, most of the people in the audience, this thing, I went and I performed in these clubs and I performed in English because I haven't performed Romanian, right? Mm-hmm. And the jokes worked. And it worked well, right? So, but it's like the magnitude is like, oh, okay, this is like, because if you're performing versus 30 people, 300 is like 10x, right? So it's like, oh, okay, fuck, this is intense.
Yeah.
It can be a bit intimidating because you can see the whole audience.
That's a lot of people. Yeah.
But
more than 30.
Yeah, of course. But again, like I think the fact that, it's that element of if you manage to make 30 people laugh, you're going to have an easy time with like 300.
Right.
Because you have the network effect and like the whole kind of like feedback loop is much stronger.
Exactly. And I think to that point, like, I'm in no rush. I just want to get better at this. And I know it's such an uphill battle.
Right.
I've watched the tapes, there's a lot of work to be done. So I'm kind of happy about it and just going to see where this goes for like a few years. Right. No open end. And then at some point, at least start going back to the UK and maybe then, go there eventually.
What does your girlfriend say about it?
The comedy, she's actually like super supportive.
Right.
She gets it. She understands. And I was just about to start. I think when we met, I hadn't started.
Right.
So I made it kind of very clear, like this is like a really important thing.
Right.
And I know that it's funny with the times and you basically no dinners together.
Exactly. A lot of the evenings are gone.
Exactly, or coming in late and stuff. But she totally gets it because I made it clear from the beginning, like that's the career goal, and it takes this 10 years of graft.
Don't make me choose between you.
I'm that dramatic.
Yeah,
I'm like, babe,
don't.
It's like our first Tinder date, and I'm like, it's me.
Yeah. I've done that a couple of Tinder dates. So
on date one.
Yeah. Look, it's me. It's never going to be you. It's
don't make me choose.
It's a strong start. It's never going to be you. I just want to make clear, you're never going to be good enough. And then, all right. Any? I think we're running out of time on this one. Anything you want to go over or?
I think it's been good, man. It's been good.
So let's.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. I think
appreciate
we've had some good balance of finance and also of comedy. And hopefully we'll be able to do another one once the pandemic ends.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll host you at some point as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, start the Sandy Jones podcast.
Yeah, something like that.
Have you thought about it? I mean,
I have a podcast. It's very, very embryonic. It's just literally kicked off. So I'll get you on there. I have a few episodes.
Okay,
but I'll get you on there. And
what's the idea?
So it's not necessarily just comedy, but it's more like kind of like a questioning podcast, questioning things.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be funny, sometimes it can be more serious. Just depends.
Okay, interesting.
So I'll get you on there, and then we can.
Let's do it. I'm happy to explore and cultivate different avenues.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming in. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, guys.
Sandy Jones Comedy on. Is that what it is? Yeah, Sandy Jones.
Yeah, Sandy Jones Comedy on Instagram. SandyJonesVideo.com. If you have any content needs.
Yeah, if you want somebody to do some voice stuff for you guys.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Cheers,
Thanks
man.
a lot. Okay.
Thanks a lot.